Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast with Tom and Harry. Again, we still haven't named this podcast. Feel feel free to drop in the comments like what, and keep it clean.
Yeah,
But yeah, feel free to drop in the comments like what any ideas of what our podcast can be called, because that helps me and Harry take some of the thinking away.
good idea, mate.
I'm coming live from New York at the moment. And with a mixture of business and pleasure, and Harry's still in the UK. So cross the Atlantic on this podcast for the next couple
We are
days.
indeed, mate. And yeah, we've got a few notes that we want to cover.
Yeah.
The big one for me, which I told you just before we started, is because I've had quite a few people message me. What are the key steps that people need to make if they want to start a social media marketing agency in 2022? So if you were a complete beginner, you see one of our posts, you watch one of these podcasts, you hear us talk SMMA, what would you do today? Like, what are your first steps?
Okay, my first steps, if I was to start an SMMA tomorrow, I think the key thing is ensuring that you know enough about the industry. That is key. You can't just watch one video of someone in the industry and go, I can do that. You really have to gorge on content. And I say this to beginners all the time, like, what have you watched? You know, how many hours of watch time have you engulfed yourself in? Because you need to understand the world that is meta ads and social media, and just get your head in it and understand what social media marketing actually is. Okay. I think that's a key step. Once you've done a lot of gorging online of content on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, and listen to people like me and you, then you can start to actually lay foundations down. So some people jump straight in and get a mentor and buy a course that is like an intensive course, and they go down that route. Some people like yourselves, Harry, didn't, and you learn for yourself and you just dive in the deep end and get going. For me, I would be gorging on content, and then I would be literally writing down the steps in which I'm going to take to put it into place. That could be setting up your profiles online. That can be listing potential niches that you want to go into and work towards. And then setting realistic expectations to yourself, and just thinking, how can I get my first £100? How can someone just pay me $100? How can I get online sales of $100 from anyone? And work bit by bit is probably my advice.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think it also depends on the learning curve. Like, how big of a learning curve do you want to kind of take yourself through? Like, if you want and really need results rapid, and everyone's going to listen to this and say, of course, they want to earn money as quickly as possible, then the route for you is to find a mentor. And another thing I've got down is, the problems with majority of courses and mentorship programs, and we can touch on that later. But I think, like you said, I'd get a notepad and just watch as much content as physically possible on YouTube to just get that ground level understanding of what it's about, what it takes, what you need to learn. And really, you can learn everything on YouTube. Everything in a course is somewhere on YouTube. Like, there's nothing that you can't find on YouTube that you're going to find in a course. It's just in so many different places and different formats. Like, you might get something that we say might be a PDF that someone's attached to a YouTube video 2 years ago. If you spent enough time on YouTube, you're going to find it. But it's just, or you could buy a course from a good mentor and get it all in one go, and you learn all of that in one foul swoop. But it just depends, doesn't it? But like,
for me, my personal story was we've gone through another podcast. But when I wanted to get serious about SMMA, I watched a ton of YouTube stuff. I then did buy a course from a mentor who I won't name. The course itself had pretty much most things I needed. I'll be honest, it did. Where it went wrong is I didn't get the after support and the help, and there were questions that were really unanswered for me, and it fucked me over in the long run, because I was then scrambling around to find the missing pieces that the course didn't have, and yet I've paid for this course. The mentor itself was trying to consistently sell extras to me, a killer close that he's just used on a last call. He'd give it to me for $99. It's daylight robbery, and it was just fucking scandalous from the dude. So you have to be really, really careful that you've got to get a good mentor, someone, if that's the route you want to go down. I think that is the quickest accelerator of your learning pattern, of your learning path. If you want to really get serious about this, like everyone, Elon Musk has probably had a business coach at some point in his life. Tony Robbins has had a business coach. A mentor really is a coach. They are coaching you to be successful. They don't do things for you. They're not going to run ads for you. They're not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. But what they will say is, look, I'll help you be accountable in terms of like, how many calls have you made? How many DMs have you sent? How many emails have you sent? How many received? How many follow-ups have you made? That sort of stuff, and then give advice on where they can improve. And it's also like, me and you have each other. So we motivate each other, but actually having a mentor is someone who you can talk with, give you a bit of a kick up the arse when you need it. And it will, if you're thinking about it and starting to really go, do you know what, I want to make $3,000 online, then a mentor is a really good option for you. But
yeah, I also think that there's no harm in doing a bit of both. If you just start off, I wouldn't, if this was day one of you deciding you're going to start your social media marketing agency, I wouldn't buy a course. I'd go on YouTube and figure out, if this is actually something that I want to do, because you could get into a course and think, fuck, this isn't actually what I thought it was. I've got to do cold calls. I've got to get on meetings. I've got to do this. Oh, I thought it was just press a button here and money comes out here. Like you've got to make sure that the business model you're falling into is something that you actually want to do.
Yes.
But I think but once you find out that that's what you want to do, getting into a program like ours, and this podcast isn't to plug it, but if you get into something like that, you can just mirror a blueprint that's already happened. That's kind of the essence of a course, is you pay to get access into the, let's call it an inner circle of two mentors. You get given pretty much a copy and paste blueprint of how they got to where they are. So you miss out all of the mistakes. For example, when I started, I always say 6 months with no client. If I got into a mentorship program at the beginning, I would have signed a client within a month.
Because you're learning from people who have been there, done it, and you're seeing their behavior. And that's really important. And it's you're absolutely right. That's crazy.
But so on the other hand of that, how do you go about choosing the right one?
What, mentor?
Or right course, because there's fucking 50 million of them.
The one thing I will say is, if you're thinking about buying a course online to do social media marketing, it has to be a course that doesn't just offer meta ads. And when I say meta, guys, who's listening, we're talking, what was the old term of Facebook ads, Instagram ads? Those days have disappeared. You can't just run one platform. You have to be offering more. So you have to have a course which shows and demonstrates to you how you can do SMS marketing, how you can do email marketing, how you can do YouTube ads and Google ads. You have to offer more and learn those aspects. You can't just do Facebook ads, man. Definitely. It's going to be a real tough one for you to grow. But in terms of selecting, going back to your question, mate, how do you select? You've got to trust the mentor, make sure they're the real deal. And that they understand the industry. They need to be accessible to you. You need to be asking them questions, and that person needs to be coming back to you, not an impersonator of him or her. Okay,
I agree.
So that's a big one. Sometimes when you're DMing these people online, it's not them replying to you. You think it is because it's coming from their Instagram profile, but it's not them. It's probably one or two other people who have the login details and respond. We don't take that approach, because I want people to buy into who I am as a person, and so do you.
Yeah. For me, I've got two things that when you're choosing a course in SMMA or when you're choosing a mentorship program, there's two things for me. Number one is do a bit of research into the background of them. Are they actually running a successful agency, or are they just making 99% of their money off of a course and they had a client a year ago? Like, you don't, when I say research, just ask them. Or obviously not all of them are going to tell the truth, but you can kind of tell. Like we've got a very good radar who's a bullshitter and who actually runs a successful agency, don't we? Like it's quite obvious. It's fairly obvious just by the way people talk. That's a big thing for me. If someone's not running a successful agency now, then they're in no position to teach you. And then the second point is, are they, like you said, are they accessible? Like I would not buy a course unless I could drop them a personal message and they'd get back to me. I just don't see the point in it. I really don't see the point in it.
I think people, I know. I think, you know, with even with ourselves, what me and you try and always give is the honest, straight up agency world. And we wouldn't be able to talk about this unless we had a successful agency. I wouldn't be in New York now, and working whatever hours I want if I didn't have a successful business with you.
Yeah.
Do you
No,
get me? Like,
100%.
to check out my Instagram, you know, I'm constantly in New York, and that is, we have clients in New York, we have clients upstate, and you know, I'm now I have a personal reason to be in New York too, but like that wouldn't be possible if
No.
we weren't running a fucking killer agency, which we've
Mate,
taken a long time to build.
should we talk about some of our trips?
Yeah,
Let's wait. Let's see how.
there's that
Right,
much
let's.
detail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. Let's. How do we intro this? So over the past year and a half, Tom and I
This is
have.
funny to listen to. Whoever's listening to this now, whether you're in the gym, you're on your way to work, you've got it playing in the kitchen when you're cooking. This is going to be funny because some of the
This
trips.
the reason why this is such a key thing for me is because when I first started my agency, I had this thing in my head: could I be taken across the world meeting clients? That was 100% a thought in my brain. Like, will I be taken across the world to different countries, meet crazy people through SMMA? And over the past year and a half, we've traveled pretty much every corner of the US, meeting
Yeah.
clients, getting new clients, doing talks. Like, the stories are endless, mate, of what we've got up to. Like, say the last trip, the different places that you went. You more than me, because you had a few more stops than I did. So you went from, we flew to New York. No, we flew to Boston.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the very first trip that me and you took to America. Was at this point we had our longest running client, who we won't name, who we love dearly. We love absolutely dearly. She.
It's so hard not to drop details in, isn't it?
I
We're
know.
not dropping details in, guys, just because it's not appropriate. It's just there's no need for us to.
No, but the first trip we went over to see her and to finally meet her, because you know we'd been in lockdown and we couldn't travel. The US was closed and all this stuff. But me and you were like, do you know what? Let's do a trip to the US together. Go and see our clients. You know, and we did, and it was. We then had a trip where we went Boston to upstate. You know, a couple of hours upstate. Then we went to New York, and we had 3 days in New York, and then we went from New York to Vegas. And the Vegas thing wasn't for work; that was just for me and you to kick it for 3 days and just get obliterated.
Yeah, it slowly went from like the Boston, New Hampshire. Did we go Did we go through Connecticut? Did we do that?
Yeah, we went up to Maine, and we did all that.
That was like, it went in stages, didn't it? That was like pure business. New York was a split of business and just.
Well, we went to New York to see the clients on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. So that was a key one to meet that, but we kind of made New York at the time a business pleasure thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we get there and we go out for dinner. And when you meet your clients that you've only ever seen on Zoom, it's kind of like, I don't know.
They're real. It's like seeing a famous person, isn't it? But they're not famous.
Like surreal. You're sat next to your client that you've just been talking to for hours on Zoom, and you've been, you know, getting great results for them, building their brand with them, but you've never met them. And then you're sat next to them for dinner, and you're like, "This is the most surreal thing ever."
I remember.
How have I found myself in?
We stood next to each other.
The pub. Do you remember we were in the first? I think the first night we got there, and we were in the Goat. It was called the Goat, and it's in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So if you're listening to this, Google it, just to see what type of place it was. But it's a nice place. It's a nice place.
It's
not a dive bar, but it's a cool bar. And they had a quiz night on. But I remember you were so jet lagged.
Oh mate,
I'm at the bar drinking Coronas and just necking back the beers. And we have a bit of dinner, don't we? And then we sit at the bar, and I'm watching Harry, and Harry's like,
just my head's just slowly falling down.
He's had way too many beers. He's super tired, and you were just like, Tom, I'm gonna have to go. And I think you just got up, left, and I'm just sat at the bar doing quiz night on my own.
I remember before that, we sat next to each other, and I went, Tom, just look around where we are. Like it wasn't just going to New York. We were in the middle of to me, it was in the middle of nowhere, really.
It's
And
a
it same
place
to
that you'd
you,
never go. You'd never go
unless you had a
like
client there.
you'd never go. There'd be no reason to go there.
No. And like that, and there's been so many times where we've been taken to random towns in random states, and like we've been put up in that hotel on the not that hotel. It was like it was a hotel when we went to on the last trip on the river, where we got like two basically apartments.
Oh yeah, that was in
Mate,
Portsmouth.
was it? Mate, it's just I remember us
Where we
sitting on
had
the balcony.
where we had to check in, and there was no one to check us in, and then we had a code
And the door came off.
Oh no. That was in where the client paid for us to stay there.
Mate, I remember us sitting on the balcony after we went out for dinner, just thinking, I think we just said to each other, look where we are, look what we're doing. It was one of their moments. We've had
one of the best hotels I've ever stayed in.
Yeah, mate, we've had so many moments.
It was like an apartment. You had your own
but it was like it looked out on this river, like it was just incredible. And like we've had so many.
Harry's reference there to the door coming off. It was in the middle of summer. It wasn't even that long ago. It was May, and we had this beautiful room. We're next door to each other. So Harry's got his room, I've got my room, and you open up and you have a balcony and overlook the sea, and it was just fucking.
It was incredible.
It was incredible. And then, but it was a bit blustery on one of the days. And if in the US, you have a door and then you have like a screen door, fly door. And so you open up that one and the main door opens, which is like pretty common. But there was a bit of like commotion going on outside. And I walk outside and Harry is holding his
full door.
The door, because it fucking blew off in the wind and he just stood there. That's actually when you call me now. When you ring me on my phone, it's that picture of you like looking at a door, just burst out laughing. But the wind blew off. But that was a nice thing. But the client paid for that. But going back to that trip, so that first trip, so we saw our clients up in Boston, then we went to New York, and we had business trips and business things to do in New York, and then we went to like Manhattan, and we went to a rum bar, and we just met loads of people and just had a great time with each other. But then the most surreal bit of that first trip is then we went to see a spa that we work with, which we won't name. Again, we still work with this spa. And she gives us free treatments. So she's like, I want you. I'm laughing at it because I just remember how surreal this actually was. It's that she's like, oh, come and see my spa, because we've been marketing it for months. Right, never been there. So we go there, and she's like, "Oh, right, I've set you up with basically a pamper day. So you boys can be pampered by the girls. Just they're going to do your feet. They're going to give you like a sauna thing, and you can have a shower and all this stuff." And we're like, "Okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be good." So like, we get there and we have a little tour. She then sits us both in these like massage chairs, and. I've got this lady like giving me a manicure. You've got a lady giving you a manicure. We're drinking wine and champagne, and we're not obviously paying for it because it's all like hospitality. But we're just sit there thinking, what is going on? How have we got to the point where
the reason that
we're having pedicures from people?
And it was like the reason why that's such a story that we're even saying is because it was one thing after another, wasn't it? That day we probably saw. I think we saw 4, maybe 5 clients of ours.
Yeah,
rapid fire, and every single time
it was in that 2-day period.
Yeah, so it was just one after. Yeah, it was like one after another of a new like experience what we were doing, and there's so many experiences where we just looked at each other and we're like how are we here? Like we've come so far. I think it put into perspective how many clients we did actually have, because when you're operating on a Zoom call every now and it's just a number on a screen, really, isn't it? But when you see them in person, you see the real impact that you'll have. Like you walk into a spa that was empty at one point, now it's busy like to the brim with customers because of what we're doing.
Yeah,
it's like, and I think
that. I think the people we met on that trip was so lovely. The people who worked in that spa, they made us feel so welcome, didn't they? All the staff, all the. It was basically a lot of family kind of run it and work there. So the fact we're saying this, mate, I think should speak
fucking volumes to everyone in this industry, because I guarantee there's not many people that can say this. There's not many people that would it's going to sound funny. There's not many people that would even show their face in past clients' businesses because they did such bad of a job. But we're being invited. I don't know how many miles is it from London to New York?
5,000.
Fucking, we've been invited 5,000 miles and be treated like fucking royalty because of how good of a job we do. Like that's
and not just that, but we built such good relationships with our clients. You know, and you can do it over Zoom. You know, it's better to meet people in person. If you ever get the opportunity and you are working with clients and you've got to, you know, say you win a client and they're 2 hours away, try and get up there and see them just once. You know, it changes everything, and it shows effort. But like, we have a good relationship with our clients, and even though it's on Zoom, you know, we now come over to the US like frequently. Well, of course I do. But that was a good trip, and it was just nice to see that particular spa. And I just remember sitting there looking at you drinking wine, champagne, getting your feet done, and I'm thinking, am I dreaming this? It's like, is this actually happening? And then we did that, and we went down to New York, and we had some time in New York, and then we caught flights to Vegas for me and you. And you know, we weren't going for any to try and find clients. It was just, that is pure downtime. We'd worked our fucking tits off for every day for months and months and months, didn't we, until this trip. But we get there, and we're on the. We can talk about this story, can't we?
What story?
Like, when we were at the roulette table.
Yeah.
And we meet a client. So, you know, we're there. Then me and Harry go out, and you know, I think we'd been drinking. We'd had a fair few drinks, and we'd been eating pizza all day, and just do what things that you do when you're in Vegas. And we walked around. It was really warm. And we go. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and we're like, let's go and experience the Caesar's Palace casino. So we go down there, and there's like a few people behind us, and they're making a lot of noise, and they're high-fiving, and they can hear that me and you are from the UK, and we all get talking, don't we, as a group? And then I'm talking with her, and I'm explaining what we do, and she said, funny you should say that. I'm looking for a marketing team for my business. I've just used a marketing agency. I didn't feel they got me any results, and they didn't push me forward. Like, I'd like to talk to you. Fast forward to where we are present day, and she's a long client of ours, a fantastic client of ours. And it happened from just an off meeting, like chance encounter with me and you in Vegas.
I know, mate. It's so like, that was, over that whole trip, we were there for, I can't remember, we were there for 10 days, weren't we? We were there from when we flew to Boston.
I think it was a bit longer. I think it was about 2 weeks. Yeah.
So we were there for 2 weeks. Over that period, we were not only seeing existing clients, we booked new client meetings in New York, Boston. The Vegas, like you say, was just a pure fun to end the trip and just reward us for all the hard work over the past months. And we probably signed the best client on the whole trip on that visit.
Yeah, we did.
But that just shows
and
that
we kept the other ones, you know, not that they were we were worried about them leaving us, but you know, that trip cements relationships so much that, you know, we probably got, you know, numerous amounts of recurring revenue from that one trip. And yeah, it cost us, you know, I don't know, $5-6 grand to go over, but it's you get it back in abundance for your business to grow. Massively. So we went from Vegas, and then I think I went on to Seattle, didn't I? And you went home, but it was a good trip. And we had a trip in May, which was fun, and then we've had some good trips.
We've had some good trips,
and not just that, we've had times in London. So don't think it's not all about US. We've got clients in central London, and
all over the UK. We've got clients all over the UK.
We had a very difficult meeting with a client in London, which is one of our first meetings me and you had. You know, when we were.
Yeah, it was like the second or third time we'd even met.
We didn't have the agency at that point, me and you, joint one.
No.
I had my one with someone else, and you had a different agency.
Yeah.
So but we had a joint. So those listening, you probably think, well, why did you work together? Because that we were working on. We had at this point like 3 or 4 clients that we did joint work on. So I don't outsource my work. I just used Harry to do some stuff, and I picked up some stuff. So we just did a joint.
It was more of a partnership. It was a partnership on 4 or 5 clients.
Yeah.
And then because we got such good results together, we continued.
Yeah.
But
and if people are wondering how the money worked out, we just split it straight down the middle. So if the retainer was £1,000 a month, it was 500 each. Me and Harry, you take your tax, you take your tax away, and you take your expenses out, which we can talk about tax in another podcast because people need to get that shit down. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be in a lot of trouble.
They do indeed.
But yeah, so we had that difficult, very, very difficult client, which wouldn't surprise me if they become a client again, because we have a little bit of dialogue with them here and there, and they make the odd hint that they might want to work with us.
One day we'll tell that story. I don't think it's the right time now. I don't think it's the right time, just because they're still very close in the, like you say, in the agency. One day we will tell that story. Just mark this note in the podcast and keep reminding us that it will be told one day. It was
a learning experience for you, mate, wasn't it? But
mate, it's I've
22 and I was 38, and so I've been around and seen it a bit more, but tough one.
It's just the weirdest experience. I don't want to keep talking because we're not going to talk about it, but that was just the weirdest experience I've ever had in my life.
It's tough, yeah.
But
that's we have clients in the UK, in London, and that's sent me and Harry off to Soho for nights in Soho, and just it's building relationships with people we come into contact with, clients and stuff. So it is amazing what SMMA can do, and if you focused on it and you get it right, which I have utter belief that anyone. Actually, that's probably not true. I don't think anyone can do it. I think we've talked about this. You have to have a certain skills.
Yeah.
Like that movie Taken, have a particular set of skills. You kind of do to a degree, but it can definitely be taught. But I think going back to your original question, mate, what would you do at the beginning? Don't run before you can walk. Don't try and do everything and beat yourself up. There's no rush for it. Unless you have no job and have no income, there is a major desire to bring in money straight away. If you can start off by having an element of income coming in, whether you're working in McDonald's or KFC or Starbucks, whatever, and you're utilizing your free time, fucking get off Netflix, get off Snapchat, get off Instagram to a degree. You'll need it, but get off these things that are a complete waste of your time. Be productive. And if you can balance a job working in Starbucks and running an agency or getting an agency going, but you don't have to do it all in one go. Like, take your time, learn email marketing first. How about that? Learn how to use Canva. Don't even win any clients. Just fuck around with Canva for 2 hours a night. You'll suddenly get very, very good.
Well, mate, that kind of leads me on to the final point that I had written down, and it was. And this isn't SMMA specific, and it's around content and building a brand, building some kind of presence online. And this is very heavily based on what Gary Vee says. So don't think I'm kind of taking credit for any of this, but it's so true. And I'm going to add my spin on it. And that's, someone messaged me, a close friend of mine yesterday, saying he's a personal trainer, just finished qualifying his level 4 or I don't know, level 4 nutrition, we'll say, and level 3 like fitness, PT, coaching, whatever it is. And he wants to build a presence online. And he asked me and saying, how do I go about it? Like, how do I bring my business online so I can do online coaching? I can reach bigger people, charge more money, and build that brand for myself, being a PT online. And I said, well, what are you thinking at the minute? And that's what I always do. I said, what are you doing currently? What's your plan? And I remember him saying not so long ago that he wanted to do nutrition plans for people, do fitness plans, and just, the standard stuff that thousands of other PTs do. And we talk about saturated industries. Being a personal trainer on Instagram, being a personal trainer in general, there's a fucking lot of them, isn't there? It takes a lot for you to become, let's say a celebrity PT where people are buying your clothing with your name on it. And that's majority of the time, a lot of people's aims to have their own gym, fitness line or whatever. Yeah. And so I said,
just interjecting in that story, because hold that thought, but when what we see with PTs trying to market themselves online, it is an absolute shit show. But
Oh,
there is such a clear strategy that you can do with marketing it that can just set you heads and shoulders above everyone else.
massively.
And we're not getting paid to tell PTs how to do it. You know, if someone wants to come to us and talk to us, we'll go through it. But there is a real strategy that you can implement that will fucking get you going.
Oh, mate, massively. And this can be taken across all industries. So although we're using personal trainings here, you could do life coaches, you could do online coaches, business coaches. This is all the same thing. And where so many people go wrong, and if you've got a personal training client, then use this with them. If you're not getting him results, use this, because they're all going to want to be online. They're not going to want clients where they're going in the gym, because they're going to want to remove themselves from the gym. It's really rainy outside. Can you hear that?
I can't hear it, actually.
No. So, so you can take your clients through this. And what it is you're talking to a too broad of an audience. And what I mean by that is, if you're a personal trainer, don't be making fitness plans and nutrition plans for everyone. Choose a specific group of people. Choose young, skinny men at college. How can they put on weight, and how can they stop being skinny? Build a fitness plan and a program around just that. If your program is fit for everyone, if my mum can take your program the same as a 18-year-old college athlete can take the program, I would personally say that's the wrong place to start for a beginner who's not got a brand yet. You need to build your brand through that very specific group of people, because you can grow from there. Once you help one skinny lad bulk up through your nutrition and your fitness plans, they're going to tell 3 other people. Then you've got 5, then you've got 10. If you go to and you've got to build your program around that, so they say, right there, he's an expert in that area. No one wants to work with an expert in everything when you're first starting.
And it's like they just spread themselves too thin. Personal trainers, if anyone's listening to it that is a personal trainer, or you're working with personal trainers, like you say, just you've got to really talk to the people you want to talk to. You know, whether it's big women, or big men who want to slim down, and you need to really mainstream it.
So you're talking to a very specific person. Like, we've had loads of life coaches work with us, really great life coaches, but they're just talking to the wrong people. Like, remember that one we had? Yeah, we had one the other not so long ago who didn't become a client of ours just yet. But that was just more of a help, because she was a friend of a client. But she wanted to start her life coaching business, and I said, well, who do you actually help? And she said, I help women. And I said, well, what do you help women do? And she said, well, anything. When I said, well, that's impossible to advertise. You can't put in an ad. You help any woman do anything. You need to help. You need to help. Oh, exactly.
Facebook ad.
I know. You need to. So what I said to her was, you need to niche down. You need to think of an actual offer that you're going to be offering these people. And I think she ended up with going with something like, she was going to help women in high performing jobs increase their salaries within 6 months through these different strategies. That's so different than, I'm going to help any women do anything she wants. I could help a divorced woman be happier with her new husband. I could, as well as helping a woman get more money out of her job.
Yeah.
You're chasing too many rabbits. You choose one and hone in on that.
Yeah.
And that can be done. That can be done for every single industry.
Which is kind of like niching down in SMMA to a degree, and I understand why people do that. Which is the same thing, because you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. I think it's slightly different now. I think you have to go, just touching on that, I think you do have to dip your toe into lots of different ponds to get a good feel for the job. And the best niches are the ones, I always say this, is that, the best niches are the ones that pay what your value is. Simple as that. They're the best niches to go into. Well, I think, should we?
Yeah, let's wrap it up, mate. We covered it.
Let's wrap this one up. And
and go from there.
Hopefully that's been useful for people, just to give them an insight into the potential of what you can do. I think traveling is a big one. Working from home, I'm a big one of making sure people understand that starting an SMMA isn't easy. Okay, it's not easy, and it takes a huge amount of drive and focus, but super achievable. But please don't be under the impression that you can just work a couple of hours a day and do the rest you want. You have to be on top of your game, and over time, you get the rewards where you can work less hours, like me and you take a lot of hours back here and there. And you will end up, if you win clients abroad, you know, which is a whole different podcast on how did you get your clients in America, Tom and Harry? That is a question that people will be thinking. We'll cover that on the next one.
Yep. Well,
But
actually,
you
let's
can,
in the next podcast, let's talk about let's take us through some stories about how we signed individual clients. So we'll go through our client list. We won't mention names, and we'll say, right, we got this client through this method, this one through this, and this, and we'll go through all of them. So look forward to that in the next episode, guys. There'll be a link to episode 4 somewhere around here. Drop it a watch. It's a really good episode. And if you have any questions of what we've covered, drop us a message on Instagram, Tom_SMMA, Harry_SMMA. Make sure you follow to our TikTok. It's the same.
Subscribe, follow, like, share, just
do all the
push us around, because we're adding value. We want to add value to everyone, and hopefully people can take stuff from it and be like, that was worthy of 45 minutes of my time.
Yeah, really. Well, hopefully you had a good laugh as well over some of our stories. Cool.
Right, we'll see you on the next one.